Well, welcome back, Vol fans. And if our last video was any indication, probably welcome back a few Bama fans too.
Yeah, they watched a little bit of our video. I think they had about 400 comments on our video. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think to put all those together could possibly be the longest book written by an Alabama person this year.
True.
But they didn't really appreciate our video.
Yeah, they a little salty. They still complaining about last year when they missed like one call against us, and they still bringing up one this year where the guy does a little punch and just ignore the other 15 calls that they got. No penalties on them,
Yeah.
but somehow they got raped or something. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's funny. I told one guy, I said, look, y'all have had 365 days to cry. Give us 2 days, and you go right back into it. Okay, so. But anyway, let's move on from that, and let's
Yeah.
talk about what's up this week. We got that, what I would have called the Battle of the Beer Barrel years ago. We trek up to Lexington, up to Commonwealth Stadium, and it's a big game. It's a pivotal game. We can't let the season slip away from us. We need to take this win. Um, and speaking of beer bar, I'm hearing this. It's not out of the question that it might come back within the next year or two.
I've heard that too. Hospital.
And then one last thing before we get into our preview. Uh, since we're talking about old time Kentuckies, at the end of this video, after the preview, we're going to have a short little story about the situation that happened in Kentucky many, many years ago that concerned a few players. It's got a little wrestling, professional wrestling tie into it. And then it also has the Hollywood icon, the legend of Rock Hudson. And if you are starting to put pieces together, they connect. So you might want to hang out with that because you don't want to have any Kentucky friends that don't know this story because you want to tell it to them if they do.
Yeah.
So with that said, let's get into what's at hand, and that is how do we get back on the right track on the winning track ball?
Yes, Tim. Let's get into a few of the numbers. Interesting. Tennessee and Kentucky both run the ball very well. Tennessee at 5.5 yards per carry, and Kentucky at 5.82 yards per carry. On the flip side of that, our defenses are very strong against the run. They are third in the conference at like 3.1 yards per carry against the run, and Tennessee's number 2 at 3 yards per carry against the run.
Well, at this point, Bob, I just like something. Let's look at a couple individual players. Kentucky's they're not nearly as happy with the quarterback transfer they brought in.
Right.
But man, they struck gold when they brought in Ray Davis out of Vanderbilt.
Yeah, he's been vital, and he is probably key number one of winning this ball game is stopping Ray Davis. He's averaging 7 yards per carry. He's also, not only is he rushing the ball very well, but he's got 15 catches, 5 of them for touchdowns. So, I mean, you're going to have to really pay attention to him in the red zone. He will be probably key number one. You want to slow him down.
Well, we knew him last year. He was pretty good. He had such a strong year at Vanderbilt. So if you're going to do it there, you're a quality player, and he is. The second leading guy in the conference, though, we're lucky. We got Jalen Wright on our team.
Right.
So we're going to counter him with Wright and a few other players.
Right.
So I think we've got the advantage in there. But and it's going to be a rainy day, too, it looks like, or a whole rainy weekend.
It looks like.
So we'll see on that. But anyway, I probably went a little long on that, Bob. Do you have another little stat or something that you picked up that you think might be vital in this game?
Well, another stat that's similar between the two teams before we get into a couple that's not is penalties. Both of us are toward the bottom of the country in penalties. 121 in Tennessee and 119 Kentucky.
Yeah. Now, those are real close numbers, but I really don't think they're as close as what those numbers sound like. We're running among the most plays in the country. More plays, more penalties.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky, on the other hand, offensively at least, is running 55 plays a game. If you think that's slow, you don't really know how slow that is. Because they've tracked this for 20 years now. And that is the lowest number in 20 years.
Yeah.
So they're not, not a lot of plays, but still a lot of penalties. So
yeah, it does affect those numbers quite a bit. And it's kind of odd. Tennessee wants to play super fast. Kentucky wants to play super slow. Definitely opposite there.
So who controls the pace of the game might help.
Might affect things.
And one other thing on those penalties, it is at Lexington. So being the home team, that can maybe switch the little things around, I've heard.
Right. Yeah. We've not said anything about penalties or officiating lately. So,
Yeah, just
you know,
point that out then.
yeah, right. A couple more quick stats before we kind of get deep into some other stuff. Is third down defense. Tennessee's 30th in the country, and Kentucky's 105th. That's going to be crucial because we've kind of struggled at times this year. Maybe we can keep up chains moving.
Right. Now, those numbers are two, though, that seem way apart. That's actually probably closer, unlike the penalty thing.
Yeah, I think Tennessee's 33%, Kentucky's 44% on that.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that is the difference. I mean, that is the big difference.
Pretty decent, yeah.
And 44% getting off the field on third down, yeah, that's losing numbers right there. You're losing a lot of ball games with that.
One more stat, red zone defense. Tennessee's 57th in the country, put us about red dead in the middle there, and Kentucky's 98th. So hopefully we can move it down the field and then punch it in the end zone.
Yeah, something that we've certainly had issues with so far at most of this year. Mentioned Devin Leary a moment ago, not by name, but how Kentucky's been a little disappointed. I think it's obvious he's not well in that shoulder surgery.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you've got some numbers on him too, don't you, Bob?
Yeah, for the season, he's 54% for 14 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's bad. But in SEC play, it gets even worse. He's at 47%. Now, we'll say this. Kentucky's also toward the bottom of the country in drop rates. So the receivers, hasn't helped.
Well, it's part of the problem, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of surprising. Coming into this season, I think everyone thought that Kentucky had one of the better receiving classes in the country, or at least the conference, and definitely one of the best groups of receivers that Kentucky's had in quite a number of years.
That's true, too. When I was watching Kentucky, trying to get an idea of what kind of team they had, maybe weaknesses, strengths, and stuff, I noticed they play a little bit of first of all, on offense, they look like an old school offense. They're going to line up, try to run the ball.
I think they call it pound the rock up there.
Yeah, pound the rock. Yeah. And, kind of game manage at the quarterback position. But on defense, man, they're very multiple.
Well, isn't everybody?
I think they're even more multiple than most. I mean, they will a lot of times be true what looks like a 3-4, where their D-line, trying to hold the gaps. They're not going to make any plays very rarely. They're just going to try to take up blockers, take up linemen so that the offensive lineman can't get to the second level. But they are all over the place. I've seen them at, the true 3-4. I've seen them look more like what we do with a Leo. I've seen 7 men at the line. I've seen them drop back. They can be exploited in the air, but I think if I was going to attack them, it seemed like a couple of teams that played them tried to play them out the flat. So I think maybe passes to our running backs, maybe some tight ends, some rollouts, and stuff of that nature might be something that's very effective. Something else I noticed about them, they play a lot of zone, and they will give you some passes. One key, I think, to this game is Joe not throwing interceptions. They try to bait you into that interception. They're going to give you some stuff, but they're going to hope for the interceptions.
Well, their sophomore corner, Harrison?
Yeah, Maxwell
Harrison, yeah.
Yeah.
He's been very effective with 5 INTs, but more importantly, he's got 2 pick sixes.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns for.
Yeah, that kid's a playmaker.
Yeah.
So we got to watch out for him. Speaking of making plays, what's their sack numbers, Bob?
They're 59th in the country in sacks.
Well, it probably goes back to what you said a moment ago then about their defensive line not really making a lot of plays.
Yeah. Well, I think it was another key to this game, probably for both teams, is keeping the down and distance good. We want to be ahead of the chains. I noticed when they got it to 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 on defense, they really was very exotic on defense as far as where to bring their blitzes. And they would bring blitzes at times, would drop back, play coverage. They was very multiple in that aspect.
Well, keeping ahead of the chains might even be greater if it's a rainy thing. I mean, sure, you get behind and you're doing some things you might want to do in the rainy weather. Who knows? The ball bounces oddly. Yeah, I don't think we want that on this weekend against Kentucky.
I think we want to dictate when we want to throw, I think we'll be much more successful by looking at their defense if we're throwing when we want to and not when we're having to do so because we're down on chains. What else we got here, Tim? I think we've covered most of that.
Well, it's the time to pivot over to the pounding the rock story.
Yeah, time to pivot, I think.
Yeah.
We'll do that. Okay.
And quickly, there's a book written called The Thin 30 by Shannon Ragland, detailing the 1962 football season for the Kentucky Wildcats. A pretty comprehensive book. But it had one chapter in there that's a little interesting that you might want to tell your Kentucky friends about. Make a long story short, Jim Barnett, who's a famous professional wrestling promoter, he's had territories from Georgia to Australia that he had to leave the country for a little while on. That's another story. To come back in, I guess you'd call him a member of the Jimmy Carter administration for a while. He was appointed by Carter to the National Council of Arts. But in '62, he had moved there and had bought a mansion with his partner, and they made some friends among some of the Kentucky players. And another of their friends was Rock Hudson, who would come in every so often. He had a part ownership in a restaurant or bar or something in the area, and he would come in and hang out at Jim Barnett's. And well, just to make a long story short, some money exchanged hands, and apparently a gay prostitution ring with the University of Kentucky football players and Barnett and Rock Hudson, among other people. So, I always thought pounding the rock was rushing the ball and playing old school football.
Yeah.
Apparently, maybe not.
Maybe not.
So, as a personal service announcement or public service announcement, let your Kentucky friends know about this if they don't already know. They will appreciate you.
Yes, that will. Yeah.
By the way, I put the link to the book in the show notes,
Okay.
just in case they're curious. So, and on that little note, I'd have to say, go Big Orange.
All right. Go Vols.